Louisiana. It's the Brian Manzella Show, episode number 8.
There's an awful lot of terms in golf instruction that have been around before I was ever thought of, but certainly have never been accurately defined or even explained in any way that people could use them, and one of those terms is hitting against a firm left side. Now, what the heck does that mean? Well, let me show you a couple things that happened to me when I was younger learning to play golf. I played a lot of sports when I was young, and I could throw a football really far, and I could throw a baseball pretty hard and pretty far. And I learned, just because the total accident, of how to snap my kinetic chain. We'll talk about that in a second. Well, as a golfer, I just, was basically self-taught, and I used to make a pretty decent pass at it, and a couple of good pros at clinics over the years. I really never took any lessons of note. I think that helped me as a teacher in the end, but certainly didn't help my golf game because I didn't have any help. That's how I learned all this junk. But anyway, Wedgie Winchester, who won the National Long Drive, he was a trick shot artist with a 60-inch driver, and Johnny Pott, who right down the road from where I am here in Reserve, Louisiana today, at Belterre in Laplace, was the pro for a while, leading money winner on tour. Pott and Wedgie Winchester both told me the same thing. You make a good swing at it, kid, but you don't clear your left side. Okay? So how can you clear your left side, hit up against a firm left side, and what the heck is snapping your kinetic chain? Well, I'll throw one more out there for you. I call it swinging across your left leg or swinging away from your left leg. Now, you can do that throwing a ball, too. Here, I got my little TaylorMade number 2 right here. If I throw this ball at the ground right there real hard, I obviously threw across my left leg because the ball was going to go straight. If I opened up to you like this and I threw the ball out here, that's throwing away from my left leg. Now, you may say, okay, that's great. What does that have to do with all this other stuff? Well, to my mind, I snapped my kinetic chain really good on the across the leg throw. When I throw a football, I plant my left foot, I unwind my hips to a point, and then my arm swings across my body. So my lower body, my hips were able to create some speed for my arm, but then they were able to stop and let the arm go by. Now that's what baseball pitchers are doing, right? Roger Clemens is falling down that mound and getting all that speed, but he goes until he really can't go anymore, and then he gets the whiplash effect of this arm. This is what the long hitters do. This is what Michael Finney, one of my best friends, and a lot of y'all know the swing from my site. When he was younger, he had what everybody thought was a hitch in his get-along. There wasn't no hitch. He was 98 pounds. He was 5'2". He was hitting it 280 yards with a persimmon driver. Here's what he did. He generated all his speed, and he just put on the brakes down here, and then everything went by. Just like you've got a nice little statue on your dashboard. You're going about 50 miles an hour. You slam on your brakes. You better have some pretty good glue because that thing's going to hit the windshield pretty hard. Well, this explains how you can do both. You need to unwind your hips in the downswing and unwind your shoulders so that your tilt can match your turn. We'll talk about that in depth some other time. But you're tilting to the right while you're unwinding. That's to help you draw a straight plane line or have a path that's in some relation to where you want to try to hit the ball. But once you get to a certain amount open, and you can see this on the swing visions, once these good players get a certain amount open, the rest of that is a lot of arms, hands, and club. So they've got their left side to a spot, then their arms start swinging across their left hip. That's what happens when the left arm swings from one side of the chest, then the right arm's across the chest right here. That's when they cross their left legs. Of course, a lot of bad golfers have open club faces, and they're swinging like this, and they've opened their hips up and backed up their weight to their right foot, and they're swinging along, or they maybe just have an open stance, and they never really swing across their left leg. This phenomenon also happens to people who learn to hook it and then have to learn to open their hips and keep their hands more in front of the club head to preserve an open club face long enough to hit it straight. Then they lose some of the snap they had when they swung across the hip. How can you learn to do both? Well, I got a drill that I've been using lately, and you just saw it right there, but I'm going to explain it for you, in some detail right here so you can understand it. I use 2 balls on the ground, but I've got a club, and I've always thought if you're a good teacher, I could pick up anything in this backyard right here in Reserve, Louisiana, and show you something. So I'm going to use this golf club. We're going to make the club head of my TaylorMade 8-iron, the ball, and the end of this club, something, 2 or 3 feet forward, about 3 feet forward. Somewhere between that black grip and my left foot on the ground right here is where I'm going to try to throw this ball. Now, this is St. Aug, man. It's the only stuff you can grow around Louisiana unless you got a lot of money, and it's kind of soft, okay? But you try this on, fairway grass at the driving range or in your golf course, this ball will bounce. I'll do it from both angles. And what you're doing is you're just, setting up like a golfer. But other than that, man, forget anything about golf and just hum this ball so that it would bounce on the ground and then roll straight down the line like this. I'd hit that brick wall right on that line. Now, what did I do? First of all, I used my pivot to help my arm generate some speed. I reared back. I sure didn't do this. I sure didn't do this. And you go get all those people that think they can do that, and we'll go get an NFL football and we'll have a little fun. We'll get me and Mike Finney and Tom Bartlett, and those 2 guys didn't play very much football, but I guarantee you they can throw it. And Michael Finney can throw a golf ball about 115 yards, and that's how you do it. I mean, you don't do it like this, and you don't do it like this. I reared back. I didn't move too far this way. I wound, and then I unwound. I unwound to a spot. I cleared my left hip like Johnny Pott and Reggie Winchester wanted me to do, to a spot so that I could make the darn ball bounce straight. That's part of the drill. But I stopped it at some point and just shebang through that ball. My right shoulder went down a plane to that spot. My right shoulder went away from the ball on a plane, found a spot, and then went down toward that spot. And it went forward, too. We had a guy in the forum was answering a question somebody had, and he said, hey, that person needs to get their right shoulder over their left foot sooner. A lot of people need to do that now. Maybe not a slicer. They maybe do that real quick. But you know who you are. If your swing doesn't look anything like what I just did, you may want to try it again. Okay, let's try it one more time, and this time we're going to do it right at the camera. So here's my club. Here's the club head. There's the ball. You use 2 balls. Here's the spot I'm going to throw between. I'm going to throw it right at the camera, and I'm going to throw this thing as hard as I can now. Went just a hair left, right? But that's what you practice for. You try to get a good straight line. For your swing, it may be bouncing the ball dead straight. For somebody else's swing, needs to hit a little bit more to the inside of the ball. Maybe the ball might go just to the right. I can tell you this. It's a great drill because you learn to use things you probably already know how to use, but you aren't using them very well in the golf swing. And then just take your club and say, hey, I've got that ball in my hand right here, and I'm gonna throw that thing. And you'll be surprised how well you clear and you get to your left side, another one of those terms, and clear your hips, another one of those terms, and then stop your hips, snap your kinetic chain, stop your hips, and then eventually stop your shoulders so that all the speed can go to your hands, arms, and club. That's how you clear your left side, hit against a firm left side, and snap that kinetic chain for distance and, like Homer Kelly said, for accuracy too.